Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about the 1984 Kevin Bacon film Footloose and how it points to the future of Dungeons and Dragons, the second 50. So, specifically, I want to talk about how Footloose invites us to explore theological rifts within the followers of Pelor. Now, I'm going to talk about the followers of Pelor, the sun god, right, in Dungeons and Dragons, official canon deity, Pelor, classic, right, from the old, I believe Pelor's Forgotten Realms, and classic deity of Dungeons and Dragons, and how basically we did an abominable job of dealing with clerics in the first 50 years. And there's this opportunity to advance into the second 50 years and really explore major theological developments for humanity through Dungeons and Dragons if we understand the 1984 Footloose film. So I recently saw the 1984 Footloose film. I thought I had seen it before. I did not. And it blew me away. I was expecting this very flat, crass, the preacher's wife is cheating on him, and he's cheating on her, and he's a complete degenerate behind, and it wasn't anything like that. It blew me away. I could not believe this Hollywood depiction of I really was stunned by this Hollywood depiction of an evangelical pastor, right? And really, it had a lot of sympathy for him and treated him with a lot of grace, right? And if you look at the 1984 Footloose film, what it is it is a deep theological discussion about a town that has fallen into legalism and the dangers of legalism. So he's preaching, he's like, hey, no rock and roll, no dance. We're going to keep, no music that the young people are going to fornicate to, right? And so that's a very legalistic purview, right? And then but basically then he realizes when he sees his own church parishioners burning books, and not D&D books, this is 1984, it's exactly the time when they would, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Holy cows, I wonder if that's exactly when they were burning Dungeons and Dragons books physically. 1984 is when evangelical Christians burned physical D&D books. 2024 was when atheists and agnostics burned Dungeons and Dragons digital books. Both religious zealots who, and if you're agnostic or atheist, that's just your religion, and basically by another name, right? And so they were burning those books, right? But what was really interesting was when he saw his own congregation burning books, he was like, this has gone too far, and the price we paid for legalism is too much. So where does this connect to Dungeons and Dragons? Well, let's talk about if you have a cleric and your cleric follows Pelor, right? We have told these stories, and we've done such a horrible job with clerics. Dragon Masters have treated them as heel bots, and Dungeon Masters treat them the same. Like when a cleric rolls into a village, the fighters, the rogue, and the in order to pursue balance, right? The fighter, the rogue, and the wizard are all received the same as the cleric, and this is just not true, right? The cleric can literally pray to their god and get a wish fulfilled, especially for just commoners, right? And so every time you roll up into a new village, the cleric should be outrageously be more popular than anybody else in the party, right? And we've never really done this. But what happens if the cleric rolls in, right, and finds another cleric of Pelor, but they don't agree, right? And so in evangelical Christian world, there's this deep theological rift on legalism. There are people who are like, you need to really make sure you're obeying Jesus. It's absolutely critical. And others are like, no, that type of legalism doesn't make a strong relationship with Jesus. It makes a weak relationship with Jesus, right? We're supposed to have joy. We're supposed to be excited. We can go have a beer with our neighbor if it gives us an opportunity to witness, right? And others are like, no, you can't be just drinking on a Thursday night. you'll go to hell, or and they won't go that far. They'll be like, you'll break your relationship with Jesus, right? And so what happens if your cleric of Pelor rolls up into a village and says, "Oh, hello, fellow cleric of Pelor, may the light of Pelor shine upon you," right? And the other cleric says, "You mean may the sun's light shine upon all." And you're like, "No, I didn't say may the sun's light shine upon all. I said may Pelor's light shine upon you, and you know what that means, fool. It's when you put your face to Pelor's light. The sun beating down upon you is not you receiving Pelor's light. We must look up. We must bask our face in the light of Pelor to receive the light of Pelor. Just getting baked by the sun is not the same, right?" And then they off to the races, and you got two Pelor, and basically what they're saying is, hey, you have to accept Pelor's light. Or the other one's like, Pelor doesn't care if you accept his light or not, he's going to bless you, right? This is a theological rift, a theological distinction, right? And we have never touched this stuff in Dungeons and Dragons, right? But you could put an entire campaign behind this, right? And you could tell compelling stories, and that story could be full of straight murdering, like slashing blood fests, right? Like, you don't need to put away, don't put those swords away. We could fight over religious differences, right? And we could do it in Dungeons and Dragons, and it models our real world, right? And there's reasons to go into this, right? So I was absolutely blown away with the depth of the very fantastic presentation of an evangelical Christian within 1984 Footloose. And I think Dungeons and Dragons can now, in the second 50, be used to explore theological rifts between dedicated followers of the same deity. We can start to open up these incredibly nuanced, incredibly valuable stories. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.